Hey, I'm Liz Wald. It's Web3 Wednesday. And last week, a really interesting video article came out in the Wall Street Journal that was recorded by a woman named Joanna Stern, who was sitting in what I believe was Washington Square Park in New York City and asking everyday regular people to come up to her table and get an extreme AI makeover. And it was, I will link to the article. So if you happen to have a Wall Street Journal subscription, you'll be able to watch it. It is unfortunately behind the paywall. But the title was kind of, AI photos are to blame for reality being broken. And I want to talk a little bit about whether or not Web3 might be able to actually help solve this problem of broken reality, or at least protect against it a little bit. So first of all, let's talk about the tools. There's some incredible new AI tools out there by companies like Adobe and Firefly and Midjourney and some others that really let you, a regular user without a lot of skills at all, take the picture on the left and make it look like the picture on the right. And this woman who came up to the table was like, sure, I'd love a new photo for LinkedIn. And what they did is they took a ton of different photos of her and in kind of different facial expressions and whatnot, but just, with a regular camera, nothing fancy, no big setup. They uploaded all of these photos into the tool, and then they asked the tool to give it different backgrounds and different outfits and different expressions and all of these things. And after a few minutes, it spit out the photo on the right. It's pretty incredible. And it is, part of this sort of deep fake category of things that we're seeing. It's way beyond anything that Photoshop has been able to do for the last couple of decades. And, importantly, you don't really need the skills. I mean, to really be good at Photoshop, you can't just open the program and start using it. You really have to know what you're doing. And this is what gets to be a little bit more frightening. It's really easy to use these tools and really, create photos that could be quite dangerous. Now, a really nice LinkedIn photo, great. That doesn't seem to be too nefarious. But given that it's so easy to manipulate these things, and, we saw the Pope, in the puffy coat, and, that was kind of funny, but you can imagine other things that are not so funny. And we can also manipulate video and voice now because there's so many recordings of people out there that we can overlay voices and do all kinds of different things. So this concept of fake news, which is already bad enough, really has a whole new meaning. So what are some of the safeguards that exist? And, again, how can maybe Web3 be a solution? So the first and probably most important safeguard is skepticism. People, when they see something, it used to be if it's too good to be true, it is. If it's too weird to be true, it probably isn't true either, right? So, the younger generations who have grown up in the, internet and digital media age, they have a general level of skepticism that's a bit higher than, the Gen X and the boomers and the like, because, we grew up with 3 network television stations, all showing the news, a trusted news anchor. Everybody was kind of talking about the same thing. There wasn't really political angles the way there are today. And so we were just used to kind of seeing and believing. The next generation is a little less used to that, which is good, but it takes time and energy to, to really dig into your sources and the like. And so even the people who are skeptical are not going to do this all of the time. Then there are tools that some of these apps and companies are building in. So for example, Adobe, if you use their tool to do this manipulation, and it will include metadata that this has been altered with AI. So that'll be part of the image, and people will be able to dig into that image and see that it was distorted. But hey, not every company is going to do that. Companies outside the US aren't going to follow rules necessarily, even if we put them into law. So what else can we do? Well, this was an interesting idea that someone came up with, which is we're already using NFTs to prove that a piece of art is actually a legitimate piece of art, and you can't sort of separate the art from the NFT. and no, and therefore someone can't just kind of copy it and send it along and be like, oh, this is the real one. So we could do this same thing with video. And if you think about public speakers who are out, maybe they're on the campaign trail, or, they're talking about a new release of a tool from their company or whatever it is, they could attach NFTs to the videos that they are creating so that they know that they're legit. And if that NFT doesn't come with the video and someone, first of all, they can't just, alter it because it's, immutable and transparent and you can sort of see what's happening with this NFT. But people could say like, hey, if you're going to attribute some public statement that I've made, and it doesn't have the NFT that I've attached to it, I can sort of prove that it wasn't me in a way, as well as proving the content that I did create is actually my content. Now, not every single time somebody's going to do that, but for the biggest and sort of most famous people out there, which is the ones people want to distort the most often, you can imagine more of these tools being built into videos, live, news conferences, and the like. And it might even be a case for some of these soul-bound tokens, which can't be can't be traded, and they're just part of you. And maybe there's a way to incorporate some of that technology. So yes, AI can be scary, and there's a lot of manipulation going out there, but I have some hope that some of the tools that have come along at the same time or as AI will help safeguard some of these extreme situations. So that's what we've got this week on Web3 Wednesday, and we'll see you next week.